Welcome to The Growth Equation. This isn't your typical business podcast. We're keeping it real about the challenges of scaling up, period. I'm Tristan Wright, and I've been there. I've built and scaled my own business. I've sold it. I've learned a ton along the way. Now I'm bringing you the no BS stories of founders who are in the trenches right now, navigating that messy middle. We're talking advertising, marketing, design, creative, branding, the whole 9 yards. Doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or running a team of 100. Everyone's got a secret sauce, that thing that makes them different, better. We're going to uncover it. So grab a coffee and let's get real. Today we're talking to Matt from Parallax. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks very much.
My pleasure. So I'm really looking forward to having a chat to you today, especially about all the wine that's over behind your shoulders at the moment. So
Yeah.
we've had a chat, but for all of our listeners that don't know, your niche, your avatar is the wine industry, pretty much. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably drinks broadly,
Yeah.
but obviously there's a great deal of the work that we do is in the wine industry, sort of being in South Australia and being surrounded by wines.
Yeah, it's probably a worse place to be based when you're focusing on the drinks industry.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Tell us a bit about Parallax and how it came about.
Yeah. So we've been running for just on 24 years, and I was working in a large studio before that, and then actually was sort of getting cold feet and sort of thinking, what's next, and had a trip to the States, met with some studios over there, and then on the way back thought, what, it would just be sort of getting up and going to work for somebody else, and decided I'd sort of start my own business. And so that was the genesis of it, 24 years ago. We started out as a general branding studio, which most of us do. And so, we would work for anyone basically that walked through the door. We had some great clients in real estate and legal services and accounting, but wine was always the sort of the big percentage of our clients. And that's probably due to the fact that, we've got Barossa, McLaren Vale, Clare. I think 75% of Australia's quality sort of high-end wine comes out of South Australia. So most designers have a lot of wine, on their books as clients. But it just sort of kept growing. And then probably about 5 or 6 years ago, we just made the decision to go, we're just going to really buckle down and fully focus on wine and drinks. And so we've got, clients across the wine, growing areas in Australia, in pretty much all states. We also do work for quite a number of distilleries and a couple of brewers as well. So, we sort of cover that sort of drinks sector, but, by narrowing our focus, what we also did was it ended up sort of expanding our services. So we offer everything from brand strategy and naming through packaging and identity design, and then go right through into things like, helping them with trade activations and all the materials they need for consumer and trade, right through to e-commerce websites, and sort of, running their subscriptions and loyalties and club offers and all those sorts of things. So although we've got a very narrow sector, the breadth of offering to that sector is quite broad.
It's totally changed. Yeah. So basically, let's say it was around 2020, maybe a tiny bit before COVID, that you were serving multiple industries.
Mm-hmm.
You were a brand agency, but now at the time, then you changed the model, niched into beverages, and by niching into beverages, you broadened your service offering.
Yeah, and also I suppose deepened our understanding of that one sector.
Yeah,
so then we could see that, okay, there's still branding and packaging, but what other things do those companies need once they've got the label on the bottle? And also, how else can we help them sell more product, get more customers, and so on?
Yeah. What did that change? How did that change the business behind the scenes? Like, did you need to change the staffing structure? Did you need to bring in new staff, or did everyone just upskill? What did it look like?
Yeah, for a while there, we had a digital strategist on board, and so that was around that time that we were really looking to sort of to niche into wine, and particularly when we could see that that was a real need was how are they going to perform on a digital platform. So we had the digital strategist here for about 2 or 3 years. She left and went somewhere else, but in that time, we had sort of upskilled, and particularly a couple of the team members really upskilled to really understand e-commerce. We're now a Shopify platform partner, and we also partner with a lot of the wine club platforms. But just the understanding from the technical side, but also just from a requirement side and customer journey side, it's really has been sort of upskilling in the team.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. So, and I imagine so you've been in business 20, 25 odd years, it's going to get stale. So was that one of the reasons you decided to make that change? Just to keep your mind active and to give you another challenge?
Sort of, but also just from a practical point of view, when you're broad, your competition is everyone.
Yeah.
I'm competing with, when we were broad, we were competing with everyone else that's broad. When we're narrow, there's very few studios that sort of offer the breadth of what we do in one sector. So all of a sudden, we're not fighting against 30 other studios. We might be up against 2 or 3 studios. And then I think also it just deepens our knowledge of that one sector. So, a wine company or a drinks company coming to us can feel fairly assured that they're in safe hands, that we have seen the problems that they're facing. We understand their sector, and also we can help sort of develop solutions that are going to sort of fix those problems that they're facing.
Yeah, you're going to get higher quality clients that value you more.
Yeah,
and will pay for value as opposed to pay you hourly.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so paying for impact and making sure that they get the business outcome that they're looking for.
Did you find after you pivoted or niched into this space that you're able to charge more or get a greater efficiency?
I think budgets did obviously go up. I mean, I think what we found particularly is that we were being invited into projects with companies that we probably couldn't have got in before if we were just a generalist studio. And so I think the quality of client, the quality of projects and commissions that we were given the opportunity to look at increased. That's probably the biggest impact that it had.
Yeah, so basically open the doors to larger clients.
Yeah. That just it would have made too hard to get in if we just, we're a generalist branding studio.
Yeah, interesting. So we'll use I'll use Penfold as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I've got no idea if they're a client or not, but previously Penfold, the only way a generalist agency would have got in is if you were one of the big name agencies kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the Penfold have said, okay, yep, we'll look at a couple of the big name agencies, but also some smaller specialist agencies.
Yeah. I mean, we find that some of those, the corporate end, we work with Accolade, we work with Pinnacle. We don't work with Penfolds. We'd love to work with Penfolds.
Maybe we'll have to tag them in this.
Exactly. And those teams, they tend not to really be looking at, if they've got a project of a new wine brand that they're looking to do or reposition or whatever, they tend to be looking at specialist agencies for those projects. So whether you're big or small, it doesn't really matter. It's they're looking for, okay, who's got the expertise and who's got the experience in this sector that we're in.
Yeah. And it's something I talk about all the time, and it's niching, focusing on an area. It could be a service, it could be an industry, it could be a personality type. But people are extremely afraid to do that because they're afraid to say no.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's right. I mean, that's one of the things. You think it's going to close a lot of doors, but actually what it does is opens a lot of doors. And the projects we do are usually a lot deeper because of that. We're not just in the business of putting a fancy label on a bottle. Like the projects that we work with go a lot deeper than that, sort of structural branding and strategy and everything else.
Yeah, totally.
And the other thing on that, pretty much every other profession specializes. Like if you're a lawyer, you're going to be specializing in commercial or family, or you're not a generalist. If you're a doctor, you're specializing in an area. Accounting specializes in areas. So sort of, if it's good enough for them to do it, it's good enough for, business like ours.
So why do you think that is? Why do marketing, branding, creative type agencies, design agencies not specialize as much as other industries, especially when you would think the education you've typically had at uni talks about this?
Yeah. Look, it could be that creative mindset that you want to do everything, like why can't I have an opportunity to, design something for a bank one day and then an airline the next day? And I think that the model of those large, particularly the large studios are like that. They're generalists. They'll do everything. And I think that fear of missing out, there is a definite fear of like, oh God, I'll never do, a signage project again because I'm working in drinks. Well, that's not true. I mean, we consult on, cellar door facilities and things like that, which need signage and wayfinding and interiors and all that. So, when you get through that, you realize that you're not cutting yourself off. But I do think it's that fear of like, closing opportunities off is why most people don't try to specialize.
Yeah. And I wonder is also like that creative component that you mentioned, like creatives like to have so many different things that not be pigeonholed.
Exactly. Yeah. Like options, lots and lots.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to go back like 25 years. Not many business owners can say they've been running a successful business for that period of time.
Yeah.
So what's that journey been like for you? I'm sure there's been lots of fun times. There's probably been some times you're like, I'm over this as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, and also the thing is this, it never stop learning. And, to be quite honest, like after 25 years, it's still, it doesn't get any easier running a business the longer you're in it. That's for sure. And so you do have to sort of continually think, well, what is next and how do we stay relevant and who do we want to be talking with and all of those sorts of things. But yeah, it's the actual running side of the business probably hasn't changed. Like it's still networking, promotion, marketing, upskilling yourself and your team. Obviously, the way we're doing business is markedly different in 24, 25 years. It's crazy how different it is, which does bring its own pressure. I mean, things like, obviously, technology, means that everything is sped up. Like like timelines are crunched. So I remember, having projects where you'd spend months on it. Now it's like, you're expected to spend weeks on it.
I'm just thinking, putting in perspective, when you launched the business, social media didn't exist. There's no such thing as social media marketing. From a advertising and marketing perspective, a lot of it would have been print and online. Oh, sorry, and TV.
Yeah. I mean, and that's absolutely correct. I mean, we were thinking about this the other day when it started. I bought my first mobile phone when we started. I didn't need a mobile phone before that, and it was a flip phone. And Kelly, who's still with me, she was my first employee, and she's still a part of the business. And we had a meeting at Vodafone, and they were explaining this amazing thing that was about to come out, which was 3G. And they were saying, "Oh, you're going to be able to do your banking on your phone. You'll be able to buy things on your phone. It'll be like the internet on your phone." And I remember we left the meeting just going, "That's crazy, is this really going to happen?" And that was so that's 22, 23 years ago or something like that. It's amazing how different it is. I mean, the place that I was at before, I remember working there when we didn't have email. And then we had one email, which was to the studio. And I remember having to say to my boss, listen, we all need our own email. Our clients have email. We need it, it's just nuts. And that's, probably 26, 27 years ago.
Yeah. So you've had to adapt a lot. Like you've gone through very different phases.
Yeah, for sure. And now we've got AI, which is just incredible.
How are you applying AI in your business?
Yeah. We do research, definitely research. So if we're looking at insights into a market or into a sector, or we want to find out about a business that we're looking to approach, some of the research in our particularly in the first stage of our project where we're doing research and developing strategies, what may have taken weeks to find can now be found in a matter of minutes. We use it for prompts if we're looking at iteration and how to iterate on an idea or a concept or a line of thinking. We use it for that. We use it in just day-to-day correspondence. I was, looking to we'd been involved in a trade conference, and I was following up a whole bunch of leads that we got out of that. And I sort of wanted to do it in a way of, I'd written the bones of my email, but I just it was one of those things like, make this feel less pushy, or make this feel less, like a little bit more natural, or, they didn't say they needed something, but I'd still like to get a meeting. How can we go about that? So some of those things. We also worked on a project with a client where they were very particular about what they wanted to see before we went to artwork. And we involved in Illustrator. And so before we had the Illustrator come in and do it, we used AI to really pinpoint what these illustrations were going to be like. So it took out a whole step of like sketching and iterating with the Illustrator before we got into the final product. So those things we're definitely using, a lot.
Yeah. So basically you're using it to shortcut the process and research, refinement, development.
Yep.
Yeah. You're using it as a tool. You're giving it the prompts. You're still doing the creative side of things.
Yeah. So, with some of those things like the emails out or the letters out, I would then, it would come back and it would be quite formal. So, you point it at your website and say, here, this is all about us, write in tone, bring it back. So to sort of bring about efficiencies, we also do it with tenders, like, throw a tender into it and say, okay, can you just summarize this and tell me what they're really wanting? Use it to fill out sections of tenders, throw other tenders that you've done into it as well. And so great, start filling this out. You still have to go back in there and make sure it's all correct and adjust it. But, that's just taken probably a couple of days work out of filling out a tender.
Yeah. Yeah. It's giving you the first draft. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So over the journey, has there been times where you've been like, I'm going to shut the doors?
I've never got to that point. I mean, there are times where you go, man, this is hard. Why, you seem to be banging your head against a brick wall. And you do have those doubts. Are we still relevant? Where are we going to find the next batch of clients? I mean, that happens. And also, you realize that, business is goes in cycles. So if you're in the bottom of a cycle, you're going to sort of come out of it. And I think that having the experience or having the years, you can see where those cycles come. So it's not like when you're in the first cycle, you think, oh my God, I'm gone. I'm going to have to close the door. You see 2 or 3 of those cycles and you realize, well, okay, we'll come out of it. We've just got to sort of like buckle down and sort of keep punching. So
when you're saying cycles, you're talking about economy or the way you're running the business?
Yeah. So I think definitely I've seen probably in that 23 years, probably about 3 cycles of down, and they've been anything from economic, broadly economic things. Sometimes we'll find it within a sector. So I mean, so for instance, right now the wine industry in Australia is probably in its worst position that they say that's been in over a century. You've got oversupply. You've got you came off the back of the China tariffs, which sort of really hurt the industry. You go into a period of oversupply. You get global alcohol consumption is in decline, and then now you've got another big market, which is America. And you've got Trump and his tariffs, and nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So you've got a market that's just basically just frozen. Yeah,
they're not spending as much as normal.
No, they're just not spending at all, and so there's those sorts of challenges, and we're fairly exposed to those sorts of challenges. But again, at the wine conference over the last week, speaking to a lot of people in the industry, they're all saying, listen, we can see it's coming back, and we think we're at the bottom and we're on the way back. So again, it's those sort of cycles that you see that you go, okay, you will come out of it. And if you sort of come out of it even stronger because, you've sort of gone through that, you've had to be, resilient to get through those things.
Yeah. So how do you deal with it? Like, you're at the bottom of the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
that's obviously going to impact your revenue and potentially your mindset as well. You're like, where we don't have the revenue that I need. Do you go looking for other work, or what do you do during the bottom of the cycle?
Well, one of the things we did do, because we sort of, first of all, we're really focusing on wine. So we then actually started to broaden that out and say, okay, well, we can do other drinks. And so we started to, get involved in the distillery associations and started to meet people in that sector and started to pick up work in that sector. We do have other clients that are not in the drinks game, but they probably only about 20% of our business. And so we won't, and some of them are adjacent sort of, so we do a bit of work. We've got a few clients in tourism. Now we also do work with our winery sort of along that thing where some of them have got accommodation, or they've got cellar door experiences, they've got hospitality venues and things like that. So they are sort of adjacent in that sort of space. But I think the other thing also is that we have found that not everyone in the wine industry is doing it tough. So we've had to sort of broaden our geographic scope of where we're getting work from. So we have clients in Tasmania, Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, Queensland, and New South Wales. So we're in all of the wine growing regions. And we also have a couple of clients overseas. So we've got a very large client in Indonesia, in Bali. Now, crazily,
they make wine in Bali?
Yeah, they do. There's a few wineries over there. Our client is, I think, the only one I think there's two of them that actually grow grapes in Bali. A lot of what they do is they buy grapes from South Australia, from the mainland. They freeze them, and then they ship them to Bali, and then they make wine there. So they're bringing in fruit, so they escape having to pay excise on the alcohol, and then they make wine in Bali. They grow grapes there. The weird thing about Bali growing is they don't have a vintage, because they basically are producing grapes all year round. It's not like here where you have a season.
Yeah, interesting.
So we do, we've got a wine client there. They also do spirits. So we do a lot of their spirits packaging as well. And then we've got a sake client in New York that we've been doing work for a long time. So to mitigate that problem of if a sector goes down, I think what we've looked at doing is spreading our geographic reach, because as I said, not everyone in the wine industry is suffering. The big guys keep spending. The really small niche are probably still doing pretty well. It's probably those businesses in the middle that are suffering the most. But there are signs that it's all starting to swing back.
Yeah. So I guess from a business perspective, managing your business, it's you see when the down cycle is, rather than just shutting up shop or reducing costs. You don't necessarily pivot, but you're looking for new opportunities in adjacent sectors.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you do have to sort of look at your overheads and reduce costs where you can, obviously. But it's like looking for adjacent sectors. And also the other thing is that we have done, and I think is that within our existing client base is trying to work out, well, what else do they want? And I think that's also started where we've gone, we're not just doing packaging, we're doing strategy. We're also doing, websites and digital campaigns and paid ads and SEO and all those sorts of things. So, if they're not doing new brands that require labels, there's still work that we can be doing with them to sort of add value to their business.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I like that. What's one piece of, throughout your journey, there's, what was one time that you were stumped as a leader or a business owner that you wish you knew the answer to, but you were struggling to work out what to do?
That's a good one.
Because there's often times as a business owner, you're like, you're good at what you do, but you're not necessarily, you don't have all the skills or the knowledge to run the business, kind of thing.
Yep, definitely. So I actually, I studied to be a designer. Yeah. I didn't study to run a business, and so I think some of those things you have to sort of learn as you go along. I've always had business mentors right from the start. I'm involved in a business group called Vistage, which is you're basically in a group. There's 16 of us in the group from all different sorts of businesses. And it's almost a little bit like having, your own advisory board, because being a sole director, there's a lot of things that I sort of can't talk to the team about.
Mm.
And so this gives me the opportunity. If I've got a problem, I can bring it to that group. Someone will have seen it. Someone will have experienced it. There's always, how do they solve these issues and things like that. I think probably the hardest thing is probably running a team of people and just coming to that realization that not everybody's like me, and they all have different needs and different requirements and
different motivations.
Exactly. And so sort of to be sort of cognizant of that has probably taken the most time to get used to that. Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the more difficult parts of running a business, is actually running a team and realizing different people, different skill sets, different motivations, and how to get the best out of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you need to empower your people and your team to help drive the business forward, because you can't be the only one that's chargeable.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Where do you think Parallax is going over the next 5 years?
I hope that we continue on this trajectory, that we are seen by the industry as like the specialists in that area. I would love to get more work overseas. That is a definite thing that I'd like to be looking at work in Europe, particularly in America. I think that our skill set and the experience here is very similar. We work in the States, as I said, for the psychic company, but also we work with our clients when they're exporting. So we're developing all their materials that they need in the States. So that's where I'd like to see it go in the next 5 years. Continue on this. I think we've built up a position in the market that and a level of expertise, and I just want to sort of deepen that and get that even deeper and recognized.
You might be able to. Oh, you can do tax deductible business trips to Napa Valley.
Sure, I can. Yeah. One of the good things about in the industry that we're in, I mean, I've a lot of my trips overseas have been that, make an appointment at an art gallery or a museum or a design college or something like that. Potentially see a new client in a wine district, and all of a sudden, you can start building out a tax deductible vacation.
The whole you've got to go and visit five wineries in the Napa Valley.
Yes,
one per day. That's the whole time. Like, that is tax deductible because you're doing business development.
Exactly.
I like this concept.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to change my my avatar as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Matt, it's been a pleasure talking to you. If people want to get in touch, what's the best way to connect?
The best way to connect, look, you can go to the website, parallaxdesign.com.au. That's probably the best way to get through there, contact through there. We're on all the socials, so we're on Twitter, and we're on Instagram and LinkedIn. Again, just search those and you'll find us. But website's a great place to start.
Awesome. You have a great day.
Will do. Thanks very much.
That's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into The Growth Equation. If you've enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It helps us big time. Catch you next time. And if you want more, head over to evolvetogrow.com.au for show notes and exclusive content.